Welcome to my tutorial for Batman the video game for Sega Genesis. First thing you're going to notice in the options menu is you can set your players up to 7, so I recommend doing that. And for this first part, I didn't actually practice doing this. I just decided to try to run through and jump through the level, which gets kind of reckless. So, you may want to do that just to skip shit, or, you may actually want to fight the guys, whatever you feel more comfortable with. I didn't actually practice, trying to speedrun this section, so it was pretty easy since I got it on my first try trying to play it like this. So it may be worth doing. I do that in another part, too, near the end of the game. I saw a speedrun of the game, and I was just curious if it would work if I just did it, without any practice. And this was the result. So yeah, you have, if you press A, you'll throw a batarang. And the batarangs are the bottom right corner. The bat, the bat symbol, the number is how many batarangs you have. For this guy, you can just crouch a distance from him and let him charge at you. You want to lure him to run into you and then just trip him when he gets right next to you. And that's all you got to do. When he starts punching again, get some distance between him and you. And then just crouch and wait for him to run at you. You got to have a little bit of a distance, usually, for him to get lured into, running. But once he starts going crazy with the punches, he's not going to do the charge again. So, jump over him. Use the double jump to jump over him. That's another thing. You can double jump by... you don't double jump vertically. You can only double jump horizontally. It's kind of bizarre. So, when you jump forward, you press jump again. And you'll do a flip in the air, and you'll get a little bit more horizontal distance. You can use that to hurt enemies when you flip, and on top of their head, it'll kill enemies. For bosses, I think it damages them as well, and you can also use it to get away from that boss, since jumping on the enemy's head doesn't hurt you, unless he hits you. So yeah, that's all you got to do for that guy. Anytime you lose a life, you start right where you died, pretty much, or right around where you died. And there's a few lives farming spots as well that I'll explain. But yeah, once you lose all your lives, next to the Batman emblem, or not the emblem, but Batman's face on the bottom right, then you go to your continue screen. I think you have 5 continues, if I'm remembering it right. And when you use a continue, you start at the beginning of whichever stage you got to. So, yeah, and if you press up and up and jump, you'll shoot up a grapple hook, and then if you press, I believe, jump again, you'll use the grapple hook and grapple up to the area that it's latched onto. You can only grapple on certain surfaces, which you'll see when you play the game. It'll only work in certain areas. Down and punch is a trip kick. Jump and punch is a jump punch, which you'll be using on some bosses and and to hit some enemies that are up high. And you can crouch and punch, down and punch, and that's about it for all the moves. The hearts give you life back, so they're good to get if your health is low. Also, if you die, you don't even start with a full health bar, so the hearts can give you more health than you'll start with. So they can be worth getting if your bar's not all the way full, where it says B. B is the Batman health. E is the enemy or boss health. Here you can just trip this guy and get the batarangs. For the rocket launcher guys, all you have to do is just, when you're on a level playing with them, all you do is duck and they can't hit you. And then just get close to them when you have a chance, when the rockets have passed, and then trip kick them. In this part, I didn't really practice this section, so it got kind of sloppy. But I knew I could grab some lives with the lives farming technique, so I didn't really care. Because remember, this was just my playthrough, and I'm just putting commentary over it. Now, I did my successful attempt is what I mean. This was only my second time playing through the full game. It took me around 2 hours and 7 minutes to beat. I used save state practice to practice the final sections of the game for about 36 minutes. So by the time I got to the end, I had a good idea. But yeah, there's going to be an area coming up soon where you can farm a lot of lives. I think it's after this level. Try to trip kick these guys or sweep them. For this part, you can even take some damage. All you have to do is get up to that guy on the right and hit him maybe once. So just double jump across, punch them, and that's it. That ends the level. Now in this level, you can fill up all your lives. You can get up to 9 lives. You can't farm more than 9 lives. It's like, you know, some games they'll only show 9, but you'll have more in reserve that aren't shown. In this game, it only lets you have like 9 on the counter, and that's the max. So don't bother trying to farm 30 lives like I did on my first playthrough, where, you know, I farmed like 30-something lives, I think. And it turned out that as soon as I died, it went back down to 8 lives again. So, you know, you cannot have any extra lives in reserve, but you can get up to 9, which is plenty. And there's going to be another area a little bit later where you can fill up your lives back to 9 again. So, with that in mind, it's very easy not to even lose a continue until you get to the last level. You know, once you, all you have to do is make it to those points, and it's very easy to do. You know, watch these chandeliers that come down and, you know, try to time them. Remember that these guys with the guns, they shoot once, but then after they shoot, they look like they're going to shoot again because they're holding the gun, pointing it at you, but a bullet won't come out. It's kind of like a fake shot. They do that to kind of trick you. So after they shoot once, you can start moving even though it looks like they're going to shoot you again. They won't shoot a second bullet right away. Now for this part, just tap jump to get across these platforms on the bottom to grab that one up. Now you're going to go up here. And all you got to do is really walk to the next platform, and then just jump when you get up here, and that'll reset the screen. Now there's another one up. See, the one up, it reappeared again, so you can keep spawning them. And that was sloppy, but you can do just a very slight jump. It's very easy to do. Once you know how to do it, you'll just do it many, many times in a row without fucking it up. But now I edited this out because this is all this technique is. So I show myself doing it a few times. You know, but then I edited it out because I just did this until I had 9 lives. I also committed suicide once because my health was shitty, so I wanted to also have full life. So if your life is bad, do that to get full health as well. You know, just kill yourself, and you'll respawn with full health. Well, you know, as full as it can be without picking up a heart power-up. But yeah, so see, now I have 9 lives. So now I start moving up and progressing through the level. I didn't want to show all that in the tutorial version. I do show that in the unedited version, which shows, you know, all the little farming I did and all that shit. I only did it in 2 spots. These guys, all you have to do is, you know, keep tripping them, and they can't do anything. So if you want to get that health, it's very easy to get. You may want to use a batarang here to get that asshole out of the way so he doesn't shoot you while you're trying to jump. I recommend, you know, saving the batarangs for like one of the harder bosses. There's only one boss that I like to really use the batarangs. Well, actually 2. Joker, the final boss batarangs are great for. You don't have to worry about that right now. You know, you're not at that point yet. But I mean, batarangs are good to use on parts where guys are in the distance and you know they're going to hit you when you land. Like, you know, it may have been useful to use it on that asshole, but so they're good to use. They do give you a decent amount of them, but you don't want to use them for everything. Here I was just it was a waste of time to waste my batarangs on that guy. I should have just, you know, ignored all that shit and just started moving up. This part's very easy. You just kind of step out on the ledge a little bit and just jump around. And you just do that, you know, you jump back around. You just keep doing that for each platform. Very easy. There is a very annoying jumping sequence at the end with enemies with dynamite. That can be annoying, but you know, I recommend practicing difficult sections with save and load state until you feel comfortable with them, and then you can play the full game, and when you get there, it won't be that big of a deal. I think I ended up having something like 5 or 6 lives by the time I got to the Joker, so I was able to just bombard him. I didn't even have to play well, and I won. Since you respawn, you know, during boss fights, you'll respawn whatever lives you have, and you'll get your batarangs refilled up to 5 batarangs, which is nice on the bosses if you don't know how to fight them. But you're going to want to learn how to fight the bosses, and I'll explain, you know, I'll show good technique for fighting the bosses without really getting hit. I mean, I think I do take some damage, but if you execute it well, then you won't take any damage. You know, they're all repeatable patterns that these bosses have. So you can, you know, you can execute it better than me if you don't want to take any damage, and it'll work fine. For this part, you may want to use your batarangs to clear out some of those assholes, you know, because they can cause a lot of problems with their guns. This guy is very easy. All you have to do is stand in front of him and jump straight up. And as you're coming down, tap right a little bit on the D-pad, just enough to be right at his face and punch him just as you're landing. And you're going to want to practice that with save and load state. You want to practice all these bosses with save and load states so that you know what you're doing when you get to them. Otherwise, you're just going to, you don't want to be losing lives on these bosses because at the end of the game, you have to fight all the bosses back to back. So if you're not good at them and you're losing like a life or two on each boss, you're probably not going to beat that stage. So, so that's important. With this guy, you just get very close to him and let him jump over your head. Or just let him jump, you don't have to cross, you don't have to keep crossing under him if you don't want to. Only have to cross under him when he gets to the end of the screen and you need to cross to the next side of the screen, and move back to the right or move back to the left when he corners you. But yeah, if you get very close to him and walk as he's airborne, you won't get hit by his legs when he comes down. It's very easy to do. I got kind of sloppy there, but it is really, really easy. But again, practice it so that you don't lose health bars while you're playing these fights because you have to do the whole boss gauntlet at the end, and you don't want to, you don't want to be bad at any of the bosses. You want to make sure you have them all down, decent enough. Now this is where I'm using rapid fire, so I don't have to mash the button on my controller. I'm using the M30 Sega Saturn 6 button type controller. It's awesome wireless controller. But yeah, for this part, you don't respawn exactly where you died, but you don't get sent that far back if you die. So if you come in here with a bunch of lives, especially if you lose a continue and you have your full stock of lives when you recontinue or whatever, you'll have plenty of lives for this part. Now the idea is there's some tricks. Like I found that sometimes you can just ride at like the bottom of the screen and just kill shit that appears at the very bottom of the screen, and then everything else will pass you by. So you can probably pull some of that bullshit with some of these parts that I wasn't doing. And use your missiles. Press A and use your missiles whenever you see a green vehicle on the screen. Any green vehicle, pretty much, you would probably want to use your missiles. Unless you're doing this. See, when you do this, in this part, you could just fucking cruise around. You don't even have to worry about shit. I just found that was kind of a safe spot. I mean, kill the vans, obviously, but aside from that. And when you see these guys, let their cannonballs or whatever arc over you and get in the middle. And just shoot them with your machine gun. Don't even waste your missiles. Because you want to use your missiles for... for harder parts. There's also a little boss as well, so it's good to not use the missiles. You don't really need them. But you can use them pretty frequently, because you can also get pickups if you're sharp enough. You can try to grab the batarang symbols, which will give you more missiles, so that's useful. Now, the only thing I edited out of this tutorial version of the playthrough was some of the farming, as mentioned, and one of the continues I wasted on pretty much the final level of the game. So... what you're seeing is where the game starts you when you lose lives. It starts you, not too far back for these driving sequences. Same with the when you fly the bat jet or whatever it is, the air vehicle. Same type of thing with the checkpoints. They're very, very lenient. For this part, again, you can stay in the bottom and just let these guys drive around. You don't have to deal with this shit. So use that to your advantage. You'll be coasting for a while. I probably didn't even have to kill a lot of these tanks. They probably would have just left. So use your own judgment with that. If you need to practice, use save and load states and just practice practice the driving section. But I probably wouldn't spend too much time practicing this, as I didn't even practice this at all, except for, my second attempt playing the game. Since I beat it the first time, on my first full attempt, I beat this, and then I just beat it again my second, so... I didn't bother doing any specific save state practice. Like I said, the only practice I personally did was the boss gauntlet at the end. And then by practicing that boss gauntlet, since it recycles the bosses that you fight in the earlier stages, I got, good at the bosses in the earlier stages as well, since they're the same bosses. So that made, me do much better in my full playthrough on my second full attempt, because now I knew how to fight the bosses without draining lives. Because you can play very sloppy until you get to the final level. Then you really need to learn how to fight the bosses. Or you're gonna be having a shitty time with that. So it really is a pretty easy game. Because you can farm lives in certain areas. Nothing is too difficult. The checkpoints are lenient. So the game really, it's pretty easy. I would say. It's a lot easier than Batman for NES, and it's also a lot worse than Batman for NES. It definitely plays more sluggishly than Batman for NES. But it is a good game. It's pretty good. It's fun. The music is great. Sunsoft has great soundtracks. So it's a cool game. I recommend playing it. It's not going to be too stressful if you watch the tutorial and try to implement some of the things I'm talking about here. Now, these guys, I never really found a good way to deal with them. I'm pretty fucking sloppy here. And the reason I didn't give a shit is very simple. The reason I didn't try to learn this or practice this is because it didn't fucking matter. Because I'm going to show you where you can farm all your lives back up to 8 or 9 again. And you're not going to have to worry about playing a little sloppy here. So don't worry too much about it. Just make sure you get across the platforms. Now, that was wrong. See, I dropped in the wrong area. Where you want to drop is you want to drop right on this. See where I'm dropping on the edge of that platform? Just drop there. Don't worry about trying to curve your jump. Just drop. Just keep dropping straight down. That's it. You'll grab 2 each time if you stand there. Just keep doing that. Now, the idea is I say do that until you get up to, I think it's 8 lives. Because since you have to commit suicide to get that, you can't get the counter up to 9, really. Or maybe you can. The only way to get it up to 9 is if you can find a way to grab all 3. So maybe you can try experimenting with that. I didn't bother. I didn't really get... I mean, maybe if I would have thought about it, maybe I would have tried to get that one extra little one up. I probably would have, but I didn't even think about that. But now that I'm watching my video again, I'm thinking, yeah, that would have been a good idea. Try to grab an extra one. Because there's no consequence for failing, really, since you can just keep getting one up. So you can do this as long as you want. Try to grab all 3 if you can. If you want to try for that, go for it. But yeah, just keep doing that. Get your lives at least up to 8. There's no reason not to get them up to 8. You know, you should be able to do that. Because you're grabbing 2 1-ups and you're losing 1 life. So it's kind of like balancing out in a weird way. So now, yeah, again, don't worry if you get, you get a little beat up crossing through here. Because you're almost done with this level. You know, this is a tricky section. But it's really not that hard because you can bullshit your way through. I mean, you see, I didn't even practice this section. And I didn't have, and I wasn't doing well at all. So... these guys, you might want to throw a few batarangs at them. Just get them out of the way or jump over them. Now, this guy is really worth having batarangs for. What he's going to do is he's going to jump over you, and then next he's going to run at you. He's going to jump over you, and then he's going to run at you. So he just keeps doing that pretty much. Sometimes he will switch it up occasionally, but mainly that's what he's going to do. So when he's running at you, jump over him, obviously. Don't attack him. And then after that, he's going to jump over you. So position yourself so that you're standing right near around the area where he's going to land so you can just give him a quick punch. Walk up to him, give him a quick punch. You see what I'm saying? That's all you got to do. You can keep doing that. You don't even need the batarangs. But if you have batarangs, you can throw a batarang at him every time he lands. And you can easily drain his health doing that. So I recommend using him if you got him. If you don't have him, then just do this. You can even duck when he's jumping over you to try to prevent yourself from getting hit if you're not sure on the exact place to stand. But yeah, it's easy once you get it in a rhythm. Just save and load state. Just do what I said. That's all. Just practice it. You'll get it. It's not bad. Now, this is a lot easier than the driving sequence that we just did a little while ago. So if you did that, fairly easily, then this is going to be easy. But don't be too stingy with your missiles. You hit A to use your missiles. Use them more than you would think because they'll keep you alive. And you get a decent amount of refills. It's much easier to grab the refills because the batarang, or the, it looks like a fucking batarang, but the bat ship or whatever the fuck it is, it drives a lot slower in the air, so it's easier to grab shit. So you don't have to worry about, like, when you're driving a Batmobile, you're driving too fast and you pass shit. Like, I would rarely get the power-ups on that stage. But here you don't have to worry about it, so use your missiles pretty liberally. If you see a little bullshit starting to congregate on the screen, clear it out with the missiles. Because the helicopters shoot pretty fast and your ship has a huge hitbox and moves very slow. So that's what makes it, it makes it unnecessarily a little bit harder. It's not hard, but it's harder than it should be. Because you have a very sluggish ship. It is a very cool looking sequence, though. It's very cool, a very cool scene. It's not a great gameplay area, but it's cool. Now, when this thing comes out, just kind of keep moving up and down between the missiles, and just, that's when you really want to use your missiles, is to kill that helicopter fast. Very easy boss, though. So, now for this part, I edited out a lost continue because I played kind of sloppy the first time, and I think I may have got there with some missing lives, since I had lost some lives on previous areas. Now for here, I like to double jump. Your double jump where you kind of you get a nice little horizontal distance. It's not vertical, as I said. It's just a horizontal double jump, which is kind of weird, but it's also an attack. So I like to just do horizontal double jumps mostly, and just kill shit with that. and just keep moving. That's pretty much what I did. And it ended up going pretty clean. I didn't practice doing it too much, but, you know, but it ended up working out pretty well. I think I fucked up maybe in a few areas and took some damage, I think. But remember, when you jump down and when you grapple up, you're, well, definitely when you jump, I think when you, yeah, like when you grapple up, you're invincible for like maybe a split second when you're zipping up. Like, it's a very short window, I believe. And when you jump down, when you press down and jump, Batman will jump up in the air briefly, and then he descends down. And when he does that little jump in the air, I think he's also invincible. So keep that in mind. Those are just things that if you're getting shot at, you can press down and jump, and the bullet will probably go through you if you time it right. You know, simple stuff like that. But I mean, in a lot of parts in this part, it's easy because you can take your time. Just change planes, you know. Go to the up or down areas depending on how many enemies. If there's a lot of enemies below you, or I'm sorry, if there's a lot of enemies like on the same plane as you, then switch to the upper plane, you know. And if there's a lot of enemies, you know, on the same plane up with you, then just jump back down again. That's all you got to do. And use your double jumps to jump on their heads, like fucking Super Mario Brothers. You'll be all right. So yeah, here just, you know, just be patient and move when the gunfire, you know, fires. Very easy. If you're actually looking at what's going on, you shouldn't get shot. I've gotten sloppy before because I tried to rush, but you know, no need to do that. It's a very easy part if you just take your time. Yeah, so now we're going to be using all the boss strategies again. So we're fighting all the bosses over pretty much, except for the vehicle bosses. So again, just jump straight up in the air and come down with a punch. And you want to land that punch right after his sword attack finishes. That's when you hit him. It's a very brief window, but it's easy to get the timing. I think if you hit him during the slash, it won't damage him at all. So you got to just time it a little bit, but it's easy. As I said, you don't just jump straight up. You want to like tap right on the directional pad while you're airborne, just to get a little bit closer to his face, and then land the punch. You'll get a rhythm with it, though. You know, it's very easy. All the bosses can actually be hard at first because, you know, it's not clear what their patterns are and you don't really know what to do, and you can drain a ton of lives. But once you know the boss patterns, these bosses are like really fucking easy. You know, they're extremely easy once you know what to do. It's not hard to execute. So yeah, again, you're going to want to get just enough distance so that this guy runs at you, and then you're going to trip him when he gets in within a certain range. And sometimes he'll just keep rushing you into your foot if you time it right. Of course, if you get hit, you'll fuck up that whole rhythm, so don't get hit. At least not by that. Don't get hit by the charge if you can avoid it. And you can use the double jumps to get over them. Try to get some distance and just keep looping this procedure again and again. And that's all you got to do. Remember, if you double jump on his head, you can kind of hit him and it won't hurt you, and it actually damages him. So I think it only damages him when you're doing a double jump. I don't think the regular, if you just jump once, you know, the regular will hurt him, but I could be wrong. This is obviously very easy. Let him shoot the rocket, just punch his kneecaps until this fucking, you know, until he needs fucking knee surgery. And then, yeah, now we're dealing with this guy again. This is the hardest of the bosses for me. The most annoying, anyway. I saved my batarangs intentionally just so I could make this fight go faster, you know, because I had only wasted one continue up until this point, so, I mean, I just wanted to, you know, I didn't even care if I wasted another continue as long as I got to the final stage. But, yeah, so once you run out of batarangs, you're going to do, like what I said, is you're going to go up and just punch him. If you don't have enough, if you're not close enough to walk up and punch him, don't even try to do it. Because it'll fuck up the rhythm and he'll probably hit you, so only do it when you have room to do it. Just let him keep repeating the pattern and just do it when you feel like you can get the hit in. You know, don't get too sloppy and try to rush it. Because if you don't loop him in this pattern, he'll start mixing up his movement patterns and stuff, and then he can be kind of tricky, and I've taken a lot of damage before from that. You know, because the way I practiced it was by looping him in that pattern. I didn't really practice it when he goes outside of that pattern too much, so, you know, I'm not especially good at getting him back in that loop again, you know what I mean? But it's very easy to get him in that loop he'll always go back to that loop eventually. It's just, he may throw you off until he does. Yeah, so for this guy, again, you're gonna, you just want to learn to do his jump. And then punch him. And if you got it right, you know, unlike that, if you get close enough to him, you won't get hit by him when you go under him. You just got to be close, and you got to be walking as he's jumping. You got to be ready for it. I mean, it's pretty fucking easy once you get in a rhythm with it. I was just kind of like, I wasn't that well practiced with it, but it's pretty damn easy. I mean, you can see how easy this shit is. It's not that hard. If you're getting hit, you're probably not standing close enough to him before you start walking, or you're not walking early enough. That's all. One or the other. But it's very easy to tweak that and get it right. Sometimes he will throw a radio at you for some reason. I think he may get multiple of them. I don't know if he gets more of them. Maybe he only does that once when he first walks in, but he doesn't always do it as his first move. Yeah, so now you're at the final checkpoint of the game. So if you lose a continue here, you'll start here with all your lives, and this is actually considered like a stage, even though there was no text that came up and called it a stage. I guess it's considered part of the Gotham Cathedral, but the game treats it as a separate stage. So if you die here, you will continue here. So yeah, this part is a big pain in the ass. So use save and load states to practice not only the boss gauntlet, unless you practice the bosses individually as they appeared, but whatever the case, use the save states to practice, all the bosses, and definitely to practice this whole section with including the Joker at the end. You don't have to make a separate save for Joker, really, because he's not that hard. You can pull a lot of bullshit, but this part you want to practice. Now, see me farming the Batarangs? See how if I keep coming up here, the Batarangs reset, and you can keep farming them? So you can pretty much get probably like 100 of them if you wanted to. The reason I don't do that is because I assumed I probably wasn't even going to survive anyway, because if you lose a life, you lose all your Batarangs, and it goes back to 5 Batarangs. Also, be very careful not to hit down and jump at any time while you're doing all this, or you'll jump down and you can just die from that. It's a pain in the ass. I have done that at least once before. Yeah, you're going to have to time these flames and this dynamite. You're going to have to try to find like safe spots. It's hard to get up to this guy, but eventually you should be able to double jump up to him. Try to get close to them when you grapple up and just punch them, because then the dynamite will go over your head. They'll like throw it over your head if you're right next to them ducking. So that's a little tip to help you deal with them better. Like try to get right in on them and kill them. Watch out for that bomb if you can. You can double jump and detonate that bomb and then jump back off and go back up again when the bomb's gone, if you want. Depends how carefully you want to try to do it. But I ended up doing a lot better than I did in practice on this section. I guess when I was practicing, I wasn't really that invested in it because I wasn't actually, working on the game at that point. I wasn't doing like an actual run. But yeah, these spikes are pretty annoying. You don't really want to jump in these spiked areas. You can probably do like short little jumps, but you don't really want to do it unless you have to. Use some batarangs on these guys, to clear them out. Just get him out of there. Now grapple and get that heart. That heart also does respawn if you jump back down again. So, see? It respawned again and I got it again. So, keep that in mind. And you're pretty much just going to be repeating this for the entire... Now, this is this final area, so... I always get hit by these spike things. I don't really worry about it. So now I got the Joker see with 5 lives. So it makes Joker extremely easy. So when you see Joker appear, throw all your batarangs at him. Get rid of him. That'll do a lot of damage. And all you really need to do is keep jumping and punching at his face. He's pretty damn easy. I mean, he can do massive damage and kill you fast. See, like that. But if you're aggressive, he's very easy. As long as you get to him with a few lives, you really don't have to practice him. He's very fucking easy if you just jump and punch his face. I would recommend practicing him a little bit anyway, just to make sure that you know what you got to do. But I found it very easy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That completes the game. If you have any other questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.